Hi there! If you are tuning into this podcast, it means one of two things. Either you have no clue about managing your finances or you want to take them to the next level. Either way, we've got you covered. Financially Ever After is for the modern day Indian professional who is ready to take control of their financial journey. So let's start building your financial future one episode at a time. Welcome to Financially Ever After.
Okay, so I wanted to shift gears a little bit because we've been talking a lot about the financial strategies, and I want to bring Shreya into the conversation as well because another aspect is, what do you do when you have achieved your, few crores in the bank? How do you actually give that to your child and make sure that they're able to kind of make good use of it, right? And we all obviously want to raise kids who are going to be financially disciplined and responsible. So, if we can just kind of go back a little bit and just talk about our childhoods, right? Firstly, Shreya, just wanted to know, like, how was your childhood? Did you ever talk about financial literacy, or was it incorporated in any way into your upbringing?
This has been such an interesting discussion. I think I'm learning so much. But yeah, I think my childhood, when I got the invite for this discussion today, I was more intrigued because I never spoke about finances at home. Even when we were going to college. So as Ankit, you were giving the example of 40, 50 lakhs for engineering within the country, 1.5 crores abroad. These were things that were never discussed with me. All I was ever told was just make it to a good college and, figure out what you want to do. And the finances are what we will take care of. So that's almost like none of your business. Uh, so it was something that was never ever discussed. All I knew growing up as a child was, can I get this? It was a yes or a no. No meant, not right now, we can't afford it. Yes meant, of course, we love you. Here you go. So that's how I started viewing money. And I think now that as I grew up and I tried to then be an independent person in college, at least my first attempt, I really struggled with pocket money and allowances. I didn't know how to manage that. And I noticed like I would get really anxious around it. So sometimes I would overspend thinking, oh, this is great. I don't know, like, this would be really nice for me. And then by the end of the month, I'd be struggling to make ends meet and, would probably find myself eating my meat for, the last 3 days, making sure that I don't go over budget. And now, even as a working professional, I think when it comes down to money, I find myself getting a bit more anxious around it because I don't know how to manage it. And it's not the best example, but yes, I think a lot of us had experienced childhoods like that where our parents didn't openly talk about money. And now that I reflect back, I wonder if it was also because they didn't know how to navigate that conversation. They always thought it was too adult, and we don't know how to dumb this down for our children or why to burden them with this. This is not their burden to carry. So I that's just a thought, but yeah, I'm wondering what others' experiences were like.
I think you can see the emotions light up on the on the chat. So I think people are definitely relating to what you're saying. Natasha, I think similar situation with you as well, right? You were discussing this. I can't hear you. So
So, hello?
yes, can hear you now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we never had, like active conversations around money. I mean, money was talked about, but never in the sense of, okay, like this is what you need to do to financially plan or things like that. So, and I think it's what Shreya said. I think it came from a place of, why do we want to burden our children with this when, we can manage it? Let them, just do what they want in life. Let them be successful. So I think it comes from a place of love and, kind of like protection of your child to not burden them with, this knowledge.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just like we are providing for you, right? So by what else do you need? Like, I mean, your needs are taken care of, essentially. So then I think it's important to think about, okay, so how do we do better as parents, right? Or do differently. I wouldn't say better, but do differently. So Natasha, anything that you're doing with your daughter to, kind of begin having these conversations or start, introducing these concepts?
So right now she's very young. I mean, she's too young for me to even start that conversation with her. But something that we've discussed is that, we'll just start with very baby steps or very simple things. We'll, start talking to her about money when she's old enough to, understand a bit. So right now she's really, really young. So right now it's not possible. But yeah, we have thought about kind of having very simple conversations with her.
All right. Ankit, what about you? Because I know that with your daughter, there are things that you do which are not related to money per se, but just generally the idea around, choices and scarcity.
Yeah. So, as Natasha pointed out, like, money is a very uh, big topic or something, that you can't introduce to a very young child. My daughter is around 20 months old, so of course I can't talk money to her. But since money also, represents resources. So like what I try to do is like when she's asking for something, if you're going out shopping, okay, so you want say this ball or that ball, and she'll be like, I want both. So we're like, okay, you can only have one. Even at home, if she's asking for a biscuit or and say chocos and chocolate or something, okay, you can't have one, choose one. So in a way to sort of show, okay, there is a limit to what you can get, right? And the other thing is key. So you have to make choices because of that limit. And secondly, also in a way empowering her that it is your choice. So if there are two balls that that we can choose from to buy, it may be the case that I like one of them, which is the better ball, and in whatever sense. But if she chooses the other one, she liked it for whatever reason, that is the one we are going to buy. Of course, when the choices that I'm giving to her, that of course I've checked, okay, price wise, both of them are something that I can afford. It shouldn't be the case that she selected something and then after that I'm not buying it, because that also sort of would confuse them. So doing these small little things so that she understands there's limitation to things, and as well as she has power over the decision making.
So, Shreya, I wanted to come back and talk to you about saying no, right? Because it's something that you had brought up, and about how if my parents love me, then they're going to say yes to me. So, if you can just talk about that, and then also kind of tell us about discipline in general. So, financial discipline is one thing, but when our kids are very young, it just starts with discipline in general. So if you can just talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Ankit, the example that you gave is so relevant and so important, I think, for so many so many parents to understand, right? How you set this beautiful way of putting limits, having, some control, that I'm giving you two choices that I know I can manage, and yet making them feel so empowered, saying it is your choice, and, we do what you want, you have the ability to make decisions. So I think that's such a great way to introduce a lot of these topics, to your young one. Again, no matter what age, they start making choices about what clothes they want to wear, what biscuit they want to eat as young as 20 months. So, that's such a great way of bringing that in. And maybe to your point of what is it to be seen, right? Like, what is it like for children to be seen? I think, at least in my line of work, I would see some, because I work a lot with adolescents. I'm occasionally have parents come in who are saying, oh, my child has entered the troubled teens now, and I don't know how to manage it. Now they're coming up with these unrealistic demands that I don't want to fulfill, or, they're just unreasonable. Like, how can they even ask for this? And then when we start to talk more with the parents, and I ask them, oh, when did you ever say no to your child early on? And we said, well, we've never had to. Their demands are all unreasonable. They wanted this water bottle. They wanted this milk, they said. So, there was nothing unreasonable about it. So why would I say no? It's not that my intention was ever to spoil the child, but I didn't see any harm in it. Right? And then we start to wonder, oh, maybe this child doesn't have the template for what it's like when they're being told no. They don't know, how to deal with that word. They don't know how to deal with any of the issues that come in. things that they feel that that's want to manage them. And perhaps because they've never received more, we wonder then, how they take that thought is they feel that because my parents say yes to everything, that's their way of expressing love to me. If when they say yes, that means they're happy with me. When they get me things, that means they're proud of me, right? And when I'm not getting something, that means they're disappointed with me or they don't like me. So we then have to start to wonder what is the equation that the parents see with money and their role as parents. A lot of times, parents would also say when we did not want to spoil our child, but I never got this when I was young, and now I've worked really hard to get this for them, and they shouldn't have to not have a new bicycle, or they shouldn't have to not be able to get a new dress for their birthday party because I never had that. So a lot of times we also have to understand, what is this doing for the parent? Are they really doing this for their kid, or are they doing this for their own, for their own satisfaction? So I think those are just some questions that we can often reflect and ask ourselves about what is my own relationship with money, and how do I view the role of money in parenting and in expressing my love towards it. Because the children, they they feel loved, right? With your actions, with your warmth. Like they don't necessarily need materialistic things, but sometimes we don't know how else to offer that. So we may resort to providing things for them as opposed to saying, you know what, I actually want to sit here and play a game with you. Like I'm not without, today. And when you're feeling troubled, I want to give you a door out, and I want to ignore everything that happens in your day to day. But instead, it feels easier. Let's go to the shopping mall, right? Let's see, what's been going that happy. Then we can get you that, and that will make you happy.
Yeah, I think that is such an important point. I'd never thought about that. We just kind of buy their love, right? Like we're just essentially doing that because we're not able to spend enough time. And sometimes it's also guilt, like, hey, I wasn't able to spend enough time, so let me buy you an ice cream, kind of a thing. So I think it's very weird, but subconsciously we're somehow like buying their love, and then later on, when we are not buying things, they think we don't love them anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and I think so much like what you said about guilt, right? Our own, especially with working parents, feeling like we're not there through the day. Now, what do we do? Of course, the child may not be the happiest, but if we can come back and we can spend that half an hour with them and really just give them undivided attention. They want to be seen, they want to be heard by us. We are their sort of biggest role models. So everything that we do is right, and they want nothing more than to be seen and heard by us. So there are lots of other ways for us to express that instead of just buying things. And of course, we still need to do that, but in a much more moderated manner.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So then, Shreya, how do we discipline them? So essentially, what you're saying is it's important to say no to kids so that they learn that, no is part of life. And but then how do we start disciplining them?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is being good role models. What is our discipline with money? And the children are very observant. They will learn so much just by observing what their parents are doing. They even observe little things like, oh, if mom's upset, she has gone into her room, and she's just by herself. Or if when dad's upset, this is most stereotypical, but when dad's upset, I notice that he raises his voice. And then they start to notice, well, that's the right way to do it. Because especially for younger children, right? They don't have the exposure of what other families are doing, or even if they do, what their family is doing is right. So they will notice, how our parents are also spending their money. So being good role models, I think that's the first one to start. And do setting limits from the beginning, just the way Ankit had shared that example. starting to give them choices, making them feel that they're more in control, but knowing where to draw the limit. And I think three, when it comes to discipline, one thing that, I've seen, I've in fact seen some of my clients do with their children and works really well, is giving them more control of, for example, in our culture, our grandparents would always give us these money envelopes for birthdays, or, something would happen. They'll say, Vita, this is your gift. And some parents would keep the whole thing, but they'll just say, okay, just give me the envelope. I will keep it. I will take care of it. We never know where that money goes, what happens with it. And some parents will gift it to the child, right? Now, bringing in concepts with just that, saying, okay, we're going to put this in 3 jars. One is the spending jar, one is like a sharing jar, and the other one is like a saving jar. So when they're getting a reward, if we keep all of it, they won't understand the value. They don't know what's happened to it. So giving them some amount and saying, okay, if we've got this much, maybe we can use this to spend. Like we can get you this new car that you wanted, right? And then also putting some money away for sharing, that we can all go and eat ice cream together, because we also have to teach them that money can also be something to bring people together. It is not so isolating and singular as an activity, right? And then, of course, comes in the concept of saving. And the other thing that we do to bring in discipline is also bringing up maybe like games to help them on some of the things that they want. Like bringing in a sticker system, right? Where they can earn stickers for doing things outside of their regular household chores. And then connecting them and saying, oh, I wanted that, that toy, but it is too expensive and we don't have so much money. I'm going to connect these stickers and then go buy it when I have enough. And what that's really teaching, I think, more than anything else, which is so important in today's day, is a sense of delayed gratification. We're so used to, I want something right now, I should get it right now. And even for us, I mean, I see that for myself with, so many apps coming in where I don't even have to wait for my groceries. My Amazon, I ordered something last night, I've already received the delivery. I didn't even need it. Like, I was happy to wait for it for 2 days, but now it's like we keep looking and saying, oh, what is, let me track my order. Is it here? Is it not here? We're so used to getting things instantly in a click, and this is when this has come to us much later in our lives, but imagine our children, they're growing up with that. So when they have to earn things and they have to wait for things, there is a sense of delayed gratification, which I think in the long run can be really beneficial. And bringing in more games, so when you're going to the grocery store, giving them more, I think, more leverages to picking up what they want, reading the MRPs. That's the most basic way of introducing. But then, as again, Ankit's example, a ball could be expensive, but it could also be better, right? Better quality. So telling them to judge, okay, something which is more nutritious could be more expensive. But maybe that's what we need right now. We need to prioritize nutrition over junk, right? So that helps them understand the value of these things and then hence be better disciplined.
Right. Thanks, Shreya. That was really, really helpful, I think. And the thing about role modeling is so important, right? Because it's like if there is a duality between what I'm saying and doing, then, it confuses the children, but also kind of gives that to them, which is, like basically we're not sticking to our words. So I think that is, it's it's hard being a parent, and then, you're constantly under this microscope, right? Because you're everything, like you rightly said, kids are watching and learning from us constantly. So I'm going to open it up for questions as well. So if anyone in the audience wants to ask questions, you can raise your hand here. You can put it on the WhatsApp group, and I would love to, take some questions around investing or disciplining, all of that. And we'll quickly wrap up this conversation as well. So another thing, Shreya, that I wanted to talk about was basically balancing, providing the best for your child with, making them not feel like, I can get whatever I want. This is something that I think Nepto, right?
Voice is breaking.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I was just asking Shreya that, a lot of parents struggle with this. And I think, like you rightly pointed out, it comes from our own insecurity, right? So this whole thing that we want to give the best to our child, but at the same time, we don't want to spoil them. So, like fancy schools, expensive toys, we want to do that for them because, maybe we didn't get that growing up. But how do we, make sure that it doesn't result in spoiled kids?
Yeah, I think that, bringing in the balance can be so tricky. And like you said, parenting is very hard. We are constantly trying different things and seeing what works, what doesn't work. And I think with the changing times, like everything is changing so quickly that it's hard to keep up. Like now we suddenly have to navigate how to help our children use technology. I think money is also changed, and I think Ankit could speak more about how earlier there was, we used to use notes and go to the bank, and I think our kids would see that okay, our parents are going to the bank, we'll come in with them. Now everything is digital, and it's hard for them to grasp that concept of oh, you carry this thing on your. There's another app on your phone now to pay for things, or there's just this card, and you can't see anything. Like you don't see money finishing. So then like you just tap this thing and I can get what I want by just tapping. Then so definitely like that balance is very hard, but making things more visual for them and discussing things more openly. So sharing goals with them, having discussions about what our financial goals are. And I think again coming back to what we were talking about earlier, we think we're going to burden our child. The language, if we're using that language of, oh, we cannot afford this, or, oh, this is going to be so difficult for us, that is what burden is, because then the child starts to feel, oh my God, this is going to be so hard for my parents, and what am I making them do? But if we can change that language to more empowering, language when we are discussing it with our children, it is not a burden. We're talking about, oh, this is expensive. I wonder what we could do to achieve this, right? And then we can sit together and we can problem solve. We can, we can also inculcate so many critical thinking skills, planning, organizing, prioritizing. Sometimes the best solutions would come from your kids because they want nothing but, they want well-being of their parents and themselves. So you may just derive some really good solutions from them, provided it is an open discussion. Your children should know what our financial goals are and what we will be doing to achieve them. And they can, even if you want to start at a younger age, I think you can simplify these things for them. You can turn to more visuals. You can also, for younger children, turn to a lot of role plays and storybooks. There are lots of cool storybooks around. Even if you just type on Amazon, and I think there's something called like Money Bunny, and like lots of these other books which bring in these concepts for children of what is it to invest, what is it to save, and bringing these discussions up more and more with them can really help strike that balance, because you don't have to bear the burden of it all.
Right. So there was one thing that, a parent once told me is that when they are planning their vacations, they get the kids to plan the itinerary. So they give them a budget and they say that, you pick the destination, you pick the hotels, what we're going to do there, and get the child to make the itinerary. And that way they learn a lot of critical skills, like, planning, budgeting, etc. And then you're also saving for that vacation as well, right? So I think those kind of things also can be really good. I found that to be very cool. So that's why I wanted to share that.
Yeah, that's such a great example, Neda. And then also looking at it from a different lens, how would you feel if you get to plan the itinerary and you're not told what the budget is? And then when you go on this holiday and your parents are saying, oh, actually, we can't do that, because you've now thought of this 5-day trip to Disneyland and, get the VIP pass. But you don't know what the budget is.
Yeah.
Right. So knowing, like having all information is critical, because then the child also has now started to learn how to regulate their emotions. They may want to still get that VIP pass because it's quicker entry and, all of that.
Yeah.
But think, no, okay, that's not a possibility. And now how do I manage that?
Yeah.
And which rights to choose, which rights not to choose, then they start to prioritize, they start to plan, organize. Again, these are all skills that we've now started calling them as 21st century skills,
Yeah.
like these soft skills.
Yeah.
They learn all of that through play, through role plays, and through getting more responsibility, but in an eased out manner.
Yeah.
Another thing that another sort of habit that I have heard of, haven't started doing that yet. My daughter is key when parents, as a family, when they are going to a restaurant, when the bill arrives, the asking the child to just ensure that okay, everything that we order, only those things are there. I mean, as you know, generally we check the bill ourselves. So asking them to do that, ensuring that nothing extra has been put, and whatever the bill is, just helping on something, a maths exercise as well. He sum it up to check if the total is right or not. And so broadly speaking, this is, these many people ate, and this is what we ate, and this is what the bill is. And when you go to another, say you go to a sort of a more basic restaurant, there was some bill, and then when you go to a fancier place, maybe it's 2 times, 3 times the bill. They also tend to, they'll also get to appreciate and understand, okay, when you go for nicer things, it costs you more. And the degree of difference that is there. So that can also something I think can play in teaching them about the cost of, nicer things in life.
Yeah, no, great example, Ankit. So what we'll do now is that we'll quickly wrap up because it's, time flies when you're having a good time. But I want to take key takeaways, right? So if all of you can kind of share the one thing that kind of stood out to you, so that all of those people who are listening and maybe have maybe joined later, they can take away, right? So what was the one takeaway for each of you? And we can start with Ankit.
For me, about what Shreya mentioned, having open conversation with the child, what we're doing, involving them in the decision making, also related to finances, and that they can also come up with sharing our goals and stuff, and they can also come up with great solutions because they also want the best for the parents, for the family, for themselves. So I think that is my key takeaway.
Great. Natasha, what about you?
So I really liked Shreya's idea of having those 3 jars when we give our kids any money, right? Sharing, spending, and saving. I think that's something that I would really like to do with my daughter as well, because that really gives them an appreciation of money. That okay, when you're getting the money, you shouldn't spend it all. Because you might need it later, right, for something. And the entire thing about delayed gratification that she spoke about, that okay, we're saving to buy you, say, this ball, which right now we don't have the money, but if you save enough for say 1 or 2 months, maybe we can give it to you. So that I think that was something that really struck me as something that I would love to do with my child.
Great. And what about you, Shreya?
I think for me, it was so much from all the finance talk. But I think one thing that I done is, which I didn't know earlier, was that kids don't need life insurance. Like something as basic as that, I did not know. So that was very interesting. And I wasn't aware of the scheme that you mentioned for the girl child and investing for them. So I think those were definitely 2 things that I would be taking away and also sharing with others.
Wonderful. I think for me, the main takeaway was that as parents, I mean, we have this huge responsibility, right? Like, in providing for your child is one thing, but I think the other thing is also just kind of giving them your time, really, because I think we tend to solve so many problems with money, but like you said, like just giving your child that time, spending time with them, even to talk about financial topics, right? I think one of the things that was so scary for me, somehow in my mind, finance is equal to maths, and I hated maths. So, it's like if I'm bad at math, I'm also bad at personal finances. But that's actually not true at all, right? I mean, as adults, you can use calculators. You don't need to do mental math. And those two things are completely different. So I think when we start talking to kids about money, firstly they realize it's a part of life. It's not like, it's not rocket science at the end of the day. And you can do it. It's not that hard. I mean, that's the kind of feeling I want to impart in my daughter, because it's not, I don't know, it's just, it feels like it's something else or something different. So that was my key takeaway from everyone. But thank you so much for your time, Shreya and Natasha. It was lovely. I hope that you had a good time as well talking to us. And thank you to everyone who's listening.